Hi everybody, I keep getting asked to do classical record videos. This is a classical vinyl finds video. There's some rare stuff here, see what you think. A few days back I was just picking off records from my random shelf and I picked this record out and it just, every time I pick it out I think, ugh, it's a mono version. I used to have the stereo version of this, the original stereo, on the lovely blue silver label. This is the mono. And every time I pulled it out, I found that record a few years ago and I sold it. I don't know, I got nearly 300 quid for it or something. But it's one of those that every time I pulled this out, it'd be like, ugh, I'd be remembering it. Even though I had this, the later stereo pressing. It says SAX, which is what you want, the stereo code, but it's the red label, later pressing. Every time I pulled that out, it was like, ugh, what had I been thinking? The very next day, I came across this. Yes. The record I used to have on the blue silver label. This one's got an original 41 shillings sticker on the front, which will be removed. Ah, what a relief. I'll never have to pull those records out again with that same feeling. Now, like if I pull them out, it'll be knowing I've got it. This is a fantastic record. It's probably the performance of this piece of music, and it's just exceptional. It's an exceptional recording, exceptional performance. I personally think this piece of music, Brahms Violin Concerto, is one of those classical pieces you can listen to all the way through and there's not a wasted bar. There's not a wasted note. Sometimes with classical, any kind of classical music, symphonies, concertos, whatever, there are periods in it which may lull you, which may make you think you're waiting for the next lovely melody or something to catch your ear or something, a change in the sound. You're kind of going through the motions sometimes. This has none of that. It's just from the first note to the last note. It's just a fantastic piece of music. It's just beautiful all the way through. Lovely stuff. And highly recommended. I'll just show you the record. There's that pale blue and silver label. I was a little bit disconcerted by the fact it had some sort of bag rash on it. Oh my goodness. Ugh. It's not in quite as good a condition as the other one I had, but it plays wonderfully. It's one of those, you're not going to be able to sell it because it's not in near mint to look at, but it plays lovely and it's just, hooray, it's back. Moving on, because I've spent far too long on that. Another find, this is Hans Richter Hase, Beethoven Sonatas. This is 27 and 29 and it's got the large stereo and it's the SAX code and it's the blue silver label. And it's just a nice find. A very nice sleeve on that one, I think. Interestingly, at the same time, I found this. This is Hans Richter Hase, Beethoven Sonata, number 31 and 32. No one seems to want this record. This is mono. It was never actually released in stereo, and I don't know why. It's the same record label as this one. But I think this one came out prior to this one, funnily enough. But it's been lost in the mists of time, and no one really cares for it. Whereas this one, people will pay good money for it. But it's a lovely looking thing, isn't it? Sometimes it's just enjoyable just to look at the sleeves. Which is not the case here. This is all that's worst about classical records, early classical records. That cover, I don't know, you can barely read the writing, even though it's in yellow and black. Schubert's Octet in F major, the Vienna Octet. Now this is a 1958 record on the Decca, still Decca label, but this is the I say still, we haven't looked at any others yet. This is the SXL 2000 series. Later it became the 6000 series, and there are hugely collectible records on both labels. This is a collectible record. This is number SXL 2028. There are SXL 2027, 2025 and all this stuff, which could be worth a heck of a lot of money. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. £1,000 one of them. This one isn't. This one's probably under 100, but a rare record, and it has that lovely full frequency stereophonic sound in a bag. And the original recording by label there. Decca wide band, unboxed. Just, you know what it's like. You have to geek out about this stuff. And when you know about these things, it just becomes even more pleasurable, doesn't it? When you find them. I've got others here, but I'll just show one more. Or maybe there's a couple. There's an interesting little thing I need to show you. This is a rare record. Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony with the Leningrad Philharmonic, Mervinsky conducting. This is an original 1961 German release, German pressing. You see up here, last year I found number 6. Number 4, 5 and 6 by the Leningrad Philharmonic in this little series, deemed to be, even now, still perhaps the very pinnacle of these recordings, renditions of this particular work. Just amazing. And to find it was like, wow, I was really chuffed to find that one. That was like a rare find. This is even rarer. And it's on the Tulip label. There we are. Original German. Hefty piece of vinyl. But it has a clicker on it. It has a scratch, which is a clicker. Which obviously, you know, never going to sell it, because you cannot sell classical records with scratches on. And it's a shame. It's a shame, because it's a valuable and rare record. But that clicker is a substantial click. But there you are. That's the way things go, isn't it? Sometimes you're so near and yet so far. But when you get given records, are you going to complain? There's a lady who lives just up the road from here, and her husband unfortunately has dementia, and she's having to kind of clear the house. She knows he's only got so long, so she's being very methodical about it all, and she said, I just want to get rid of stuff. So she just gave me all their records. Now, there was a lot of just, you know, music for pleasure, classics for pleasure stuff. There were some nice ones amongst them. Just the condition wasn't all perfect, but yeah, it's a really kind of thing to do. And I said to her I'd make a donation to her church. Right. These weren't in that collection. There's a whole bunch I could show, and I think I made some small specialist videos because people keep asking for them. This is there's 2 78s here, which I came across recently, and you can see the condition. Really nice. These are Mozart horn concerto, and they're worth quite a bit of money. They're quite rare. I've actually got another couple as well. Mozart sonatas with this guy. Can't remember what they are exactly. They're just over there. This is Walter Susskind conducting, but the horn player is Dennis Brain. Dennis Brain was actually the son of a famous horn player, and who apparently didn't allow his son to play the horn, or to actually learn the horn. He made sure that every week he was learning piano, etc., until eventually he started playing the horn when I think maybe early teens and mid-teens. He was actually performing live with his father. He was that good. And I think he overtook him and excelled beyond him. And a very famous name in classical circles, but he died in a car crash, I think in his 30s. It's a shame, he had a real need for speed, even though, you sort of looked at a guy and he's a classical horn player. He just had this sort of need for speed, and I think that's probably what it did for him. But lovely rare records. It's always worth having a look at 78. If you can find them in brilliant condition, which these are, you may not want to keep them, but you could sell them on quite easily. I say easily, but it's a niche market. But there'll always be someone out there to buy them. I've got this wonderful box set of Wagner, the Master Singers of Nuremberg, from 1924, and it's the very first ever Wagner recording, like of Master Singers, and it can, the first ever rendition. It's also done in English. It's a rare thing. The only other time it's sold, it had a disc missing as a 13-disc set. I also have a disc missing, for some reason or other. But a lovely thing. I was going to show it, but I moved it to another room, and it's so flaming heavy, and I don't want to ruin this video. Anyway, it's worth having a look out for this stuff, because some of this stuff can go for hundreds. Even if you don't want to keep it, there are hundreds of pounds worth of stuff. Anyway, finally, this little book she also gave me. She gave me a whole pile of books. This is a fantastic little thing. Modern Musicians from 1913. And you can see the sort of the pages. The way they used to cut pages then was very different. Of course, it's not all, it's a lot rougher. But have a look at some of these pictures. And look at this. They're pasted in. This particular guy, Paderewski, a famous pianist of his day, but also became the Prime Minister or the President of Poland, Prime Minister, I think, of Poland, and he signed the armistice in 1919 for the end of the war. So very interesting character, a hugely eventful and political life, as well as composing and being world-class pianist. Unusual character. Here is a picture of a lady of the day, a violinist, Marie Hall. What's wonderful about this little book is it covers a lot of interesting characters in a really interesting and sort of chatty and informative way. It brings these people to life. When you see those sorts of pictures, they look like they're from another era, another world, and it's almost like you can't imagine them talking like real people. But the way there's only a few pages on each person, but there's a few quotes in here and different things people are talking about. And just the way they talk just brings them to life. They're talking to you in a modern day tone. You kind of have this idea that they kind of almost spoke differently back then, but it was just so chatty and so normal and so everyday. And it's what brings it to life. And to read about these different people from that period, it just colours everything again and gives you a whole new angle to the world of music and to where music was going. All classical. There's conductors in here. There's a few names, which later on would become hugely famous. But yeah, interesting stuff. But of course, a lot of it, you're only going to have certain things that they've recorded. There's only very little available because of the recording techniques at the time and the recording of facilities and the availability at the time, etc. But fantastic little book. And, maybe I should do videos where I just read chapters out of books, because especially stuff like this is wonderful, wonderful stuff. Anyway, I've rattled on for far too long. This video should have been 5 minutes, so I'll see you all later.